Hey, Steve. Miami, they go 10, sometimes even 11 deep. You guys on your side been doing that as well as you try to get guys opportunities to kind of carve out a role. Do you think a matchup like this is a kind of a good barometer to see where your bench guys can be at and are at against a team that has traditionally and always goes pretty deep?
I'm not really concerned about who we're playing right now. I think it's really just about us getting better each day and trending in the right direction. We have so many things that we have to improve. So whether we're playing Miami or Charlotte or Detroit, doesn't matter. We just need to go out and execute better and start to build some momentum to become the team that we think we can be. But we're a long way off from that right now.
So you look at the plus minus numbers season wise, season long. It's Kuminga, Wiseman, and Poole are all way down there in the league numbers. Obviously, small sample size, but I'm sure you guys look at those numbers. Is it something that you have to? I mean, they play together too often. Is it that unit that you've got to tweak? Do you have to do things within that unit differently, systemically? What's going on with those three guys, you think?
Well, I think it's just what's happening with our team. We're experimenting with rotations. You saw in Phoenix the other night, we mixed it up a little bit, got Wise in the game earlier, came back with Loon and Andrew to start the second quarter to try to mix up our rotations a little bit, get a little better blend of veterans and youth. And it's going to take some time to figure out what's what. As you said, small sample size. So we've got to just keep working, keep trying things, give ourselves a chance to really get a good feel for all this, and then go from there.
What do you think about Wiseman through 4 games? He obviously hadn't played in a year and a half, and as Tim pointed out, the plus minus isn't great, but seems like he's been productive. Maybe sometimes commits too many fouls, but I'm just curious your overall take on how he's looked and what he's done well and what he needs to do better.
Thrilled with his development. He's working so hard. It's great to see him healthy. He's so coachable. He really wants to do the right thing over and over again. And you can see how explosive he is. He scores with ease. When he gets the ball in certain spots, great touch, in the middle of the lane, which most big guys don't have. So to catch that little pocket pass and make those little 8-foot floaters, that's a very unique skill for a big guy. So a lot to like, and then a lot to work on too. Defensively, he's got a lot to catch up on. We're working with him every day, still laying a foundation. He's kind of a count late on a lot of rotations, which leads to a lot of the fouls. But that's totally normal, especially for a guy who played 3 college games. So James is really coming along well, and we're thrilled with the work he's putting in, and he's going to get better and better.
This isn't just a James question, but with all the younger guys, we talked to Andre today about how if they were on a non-contending team, they would have more minutes, more reps, and the leash would be longer. But because they're on a contending team, maybe they don't get as many minutes and opportunities. How do you handle just giving them an opportunity, but then also the confidence? Because I'm sure it comes in waves when you're getting not as many minutes.
Yeah, it's all part of the balance. You just make sure you're talking to the guys constantly and giving them the encouragement they need, and also the instruction and the correction when they're doing something incorrectly. So that's the balance of coaching. You just want to keep guys getting better and moving forward, and not get too up or down from game to game.
Steve, the notion of the veteran who doesn't have to play to be a contributor, the Heat have done that now for about 6 years or so with Udonis Haslem, came back for another year. We're seeing a little bit of that with Andre. We saw it some with the Heat. We're seeing it now where he's on his own timetable. What's the value of a player like that? People on the outside always seem to go, why can't they bring in someone who actually plays? Can you sort of take us maybe through your experience of having a guy like that on one of your rosters, and for people inside, how meaningful are guys like Udonis, like Andre?
Yeah, I mean, internal leadership is huge for every team, and by internal I mean within the roster, within the locker room. Coaches can only do so much from our chairs and where we're coming from for the players. But if a teammate is telling you something as a young player, it's much more meaningful. So I think guys like Andre are just hugely valuable. He played a big role in our success last year, helping not only our young guys, but even our vets, Belly and Otto, Gary Payton, kind of get acclimated to our system, playing with Steph, all that kind of stuff. So you need that internal leadership. It's a big thing.
Hey, Steve, over here. How you doing?
Hey, John.
4 championships in 8 years, and incredible accomplishment. What's the biggest challenge for you? And you've done it as a coach and also as a player, coming back the year after. In terms of getting back to it and how you sharpen the iron again.
It's a good question. I think every season is a little different depending on circumstances. This year's circumstances are very different compared to our first 3 championships, where we were coming back with vets or signing vets. So it's one thing to have Zaza Pachulia and David West coming off the bench. It's another to try to bring along some kids who barely know the league. It's a totally different challenge. And in some ways it's more exciting because it's a bigger challenge, bigger hill to climb, but also potentially incredibly rewarding. We saw it with Jordan Poole the last couple of years. When you can coach a young guy and help him reach a certain point, really, really satisfying. As a coach, as an organization, and that's our aim this year. And the idea, obviously, is to have those guys ready to play in big playoff games, and that's the goal.
Hey, Steve, Dante's out again. Is there any update on him, and do you expect him to be part of the road trip?
Unlikely to play on the road trip. Hamstrings are tricky, and there's no point in falling behind on that by pushing the envelope. So he's unlikely to play on the trip.
And then with Patrick Baldwin Jr. and Ryan Rollins, do you think that they'll be on the road trip or get more time in Santa Cruz during that? No,
they'll be on the trip.
Okay,
yeah.
Hey, Steve, you said that Kenny and Chris DeMarco kind of co-anchored the defensive coordinator duties, responsibilities. But can you go back to when Kenny almost left before ultimately deciding to come back? Just what went through your mind as he was going through that process, and how it ultimately ended, and what your thoughts of when he decided to come back?
Well, I was concerned about the challenge of replacing both Mike and Kenny, and started to think about what that might look like. But we were in the middle of the finals too, so I didn't give it much thought, but it did cross my mind. And then, of course, everything changed right as the series ended, and so we didn't have to go too far down the road.
When he told you he was coming back, though, what was your, reaction?
I was fired up. Yeah, I was excited. We need Kenny, and it's losing Mike was a big deal, and losing both would have been really tough. So it's great to have Kenny back.
I was wondering if you noticed any difference in Clay today. And an ejection's not ideal, but did it release a pressure gauge for some of his frustration?
Clay's in a good mood. He's ready to go. 78 more. I told him, and you guys know this, I think some of you have written about it, but he's had plenty of slow starts in his career before the injuries even came about. He was traditionally someone who started a little slowly. I remember the one year he had 4 or 5 tough shooting nights, and then he made 14 threes in Chicago to set the all-time record. And so he's, I think, he puts a lot of pressure on himself. He wants to be great all the time. But given the nature of his camp and not really being able to play a ton going into the season, I think he's catching up, and he's realizing that. So he's got to go a little lighter on himself.
minute wise for Clay tonight, and Draymond? I mean,
we'll bump Clay up a little bit, 27, 28, so we can extend each of his runs by a minute or so. And Draymond's getting up now around 30, so we're getting close to getting them both where they need to be.
How much easier does that make it for you to get to the combinations you want?
Well, it gives us more flexibility to do different things, and we don't know what our rotations are yet, so we're in exploration mode. But this gives us a chance to be a little more versatile within that.
I know you probably script some of it and don't otherwise, but do you think, you used Ty Jerome last game because I assume no DiVincenzo.
Yeah.
Do you expect to do that again?
Yeah. We need another playmaker with Jordan out on the floor, another ball handler. I think Dante and Jordan showed in the preseason in the first couple of games, they really complement one another well. I thought Ty was really good the other night. The game, we had a good stretch early in the fourth with him out on the floor, partly because the ball started to move. We found a rhythm, and that's why Ty is here. He's a two-way guy, but he's a proven NBA player and fits our style well. And so with Dante out, he's going to be getting minutes.
How often are you checking in with Andre just as he's ramping up for the season? And when do you anticipate he could be ready to play? I know he hasn't scrimmaged yet, but is he weeks out, months out?
No answer. Yeah. Sorry. I don't have a date for you. But we talk every day, and he's I think what I said early on in this whole thing is last year he played a lot early and then got hurt late, and so we're trying to be really smart, and I don't anticipate him playing anytime soon. We're going to try to pace him and have him ready later on.
Shoot around update. I don't know if you had one in Phoenix. Did you have one in Phoenix?
Yeah.
Okay. Then This is your first home shoot around you had this morning. Was there a reason for that? Is it anything tied maybe to some defensive looks or?
More based on the day off yesterday. So when we give guys a day off, we like to come in and shoot around, get some shots up, get the blood moving, go through our scouting report. I don't think any of us like a day off and then no shoot around. Players included. Players want to come in these cases too. Thank you. Appreciate that.